We, the animal collective, are witnessed by many in different shape, different form, different existence. Some are revered, some are rebuked. But that is your human understanding. That is your human condition. For we, as the animal collective, understand this. We understand the human perspective upon we, the animal collective. But it is this for you to understand. No matter our appearance, no matter our existence, it is not the shape or the form that we take. It is the energy and vibration that we provide. For if you were to take a moment each time that you witnessed one of us and open your consciousness up to ours, our physical form would change in appearance to be acceptable to all. It is through this consciousness bridge that we, across many levels, communicate with other animals, communicate with other beings, as well as communicate with other humans. But many are not at this point of understanding. So it is this understanding that we bring you. Shift your perspective. Shift your understanding for all of the humans that are here with you. Allow them to be part of your consciousness. Allow them to build that bridge of understanding between your vibration, and you will understand the gifts that are provided. You will understand the messages we provide to you. For we are here for you, just as you are there for us. The Animal Collective, June 21, 2021.
All right. Shall we begin?
Yeah.
Okay. I was up all night with that puppy, so my brain's not really working today. Please bear with me. I can't function without sleep.
It's Monday.
Yeah, see, I don't even know what day it is.
I wish I didn't know.
So let's begin from the beginning of this spiritual journey, from you finding Reiki to ending up to the book that we're talking about today. How did that all come about?
Well, the awakening sort of started while I was still in the Christian church. Probably, many years ago. And I was called to start a hands-on healing team in my church. So that was quite a while ago, late 1990s maybe. And then gradually we moved away from the Christian church and started expanding our box, really, the greater spiritual realm. And that's when I discovered Reiki, because I was curious how that modality would resonate with what I already knew about hands-on healing. And that was in 2015. I went to a Reiki training, and then when I came home and started practicing on Will, the guinea pig, that's when things started unlocking big time for him. Mm-hmm. And so what was interesting is that although part of me sort of regretted the fact that I had wasted a lot of time and I was sort of catching up in the spiritual realm and trying to catch up with all of this information and knowledge and all these things I'd missed out while I was in the church. You know, it's always about the journey. And there was a reason why I was immersed in the Christian church. And so I came to understand that my job, my role, was really to help others to expand their box as well, whether it's religious or whatever kind of belief box you find yourself in. And so that's where the first book, The Journey Within, came about, was to explain a little bit about my journey and how I started expanding and exploring and looked into all sorts of modalities fast and furiously in the beginning of my awakening. And and so it was sort of to help people not only understand, but really a big part of it was about dropping fear and becoming courageous. Becoming brave enough to stop worrying about what others think and what others think that you should be doing with your life, and stop making decisions based on others and start going within and, living your own truth.
Sure. I think that is so huge right now, but there's this transition. The more people are waking up, the more they're starting to question their religious beliefs, and the more they're afraid to go on YouTube or to post about this stuff on social media because they're afraid of the backlash from their family and their friends. I know this interview is about animals today, but do you have any advice for people who are in that process right now, or they're kind of not sure how to let everybody know where they're at spiritually, and religion isn't making as much sense to them anymore?
Well, again, abandoning fear is challenging, but it's the only way through. And what is nice about that process is that you understand that the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And so, I liken it to our coming out. Like everybody has a coming out story, regardless of whether it's your sexual orientation or whatever it is. And my coming out was when I had a huge interview about this book, The Journey Within. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't scared that it was a major interview with a major woman who was on Unity broadcast radio. And I knew that everybody was going to hear it the next day. And it was my coming out of saying, hey, I don't subscribe anymore to the orthodoxy Christian belief system. And here's kind of what I do believe. And so the next day, people didn't defriend me, and people weren't yelling at me, and people weren't upset with me, and my church friends were still on Facebook. And I realized that what I had envisioned and what I thought might happen never happened. And so a lot of the fears that we drum up are very excessive. They're not realistic. And so the more that you practice stepping out in courage and not allowing fear to drive your car, make it sit in the back, the easier it becomes. And the things that you dream are going to happen really don't. And it's so liberating and so freeing to not have to worry about or censor yourself. It's so freeing that it just becomes easier and easier because it feels so good. And you'll realize so many people are drawn to you because you are authentic and you are living your truth. And the most important thing is that it gives others the courage to do the same. So when we step up, it gives people the courage to say, oh, wow, look, she's doing fantastic. And she thinks this stuff is normal. I mean, so maybe I'm okay.
It's taking those baby steps in truth. I mean, really taking those baby steps and living in that truth. When you feel that truth at the center of who you are, and it might be separating yourself from that framework of Christianity. Well, when you take that first baby step, it feels so good. Then you take another step and another step, and eventually you're living your truth, and that fear is behind you. So it is just really sitting and living within that truth of who you are.
Yeah. And then you kind of get to a point where there's no stopping you.
For sure.
I've come this far. I'm going to go all the way now. Let's do it.
Because what you realize is that when you live in alignment with Source and you know that Source is running through you, you can't help it. You just do it. There is no fear. It's like this, I have to go down this path. I have to say these things. I have to be this person. I have to start a healing practice. I have to help people. This is what I'm here for. And when you tap into that mission, that true mission from Source, it's a no-brainer. You can't help yourself. So yeah.
You both are BQH practitioners, correct?
No, only Allison is.
Okay. Do you ever think that some of that fear comes from all of our other lives of persecution, and especially religious persecution?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Sure.
I do too. It seems to be kind of a big theme right now, but a lot of people are releasing it, and it's exciting to see.
It is.
From Reiki to Will being your guinea pig, what was that like for you, Will?
I mean, obviously it was a rekindling of stuff that was already there. I just really had no framework around it. kind of going back to my formative years as a child and in high school and stuff, I did have some experiences during meditation practices while in high school in my psychology class, having out of body experiences, but you have no one to talk to. So it's like you kind of bottle it up and you just, that is who you are. But I use those practices throughout the beginning formative stages of my military career to keep me, I'll say, sane during some very stressful times. Well, then life happens and it all, you have a family and all of that kind of just gets put away. Then that was right about the same time that I was retiring from the military. I was being seen by the VA for some very severe lower back issues. And I'm always up for trying different things. I've always been that way. So when Allison first started practicing Reiki on me, even on that very first session, it was just outstanding. I mean, the energy and the flow of change started happening, and I started questioning it, didn't understand it, but then it became very familiar. And I had to get trained. I had to learn. I had to do that, and all within a very short amount of time. That's where our nonprofit came from, because I'm a veteran. Allison's a veteran. As soon as I found the benefits of Reiki, I said, this needs to go into the VA. My brethren in the VA need to have Reiki. And so we approached our local VA and they allowed us kind of full reign to create a volunteer organization or a volunteer practice of Reiki practitioners that would come in once, twice a week and provide Reiki sessions to veterans here in Charleston and throughout the whole South Carolina region, along the coastal region. And and that was a divine inspiration, because my energy channel was opening up at that point, and I was receiving information saying this needs to go into the VA. This is, and I was getting all of the information that was just divinely being inspired to do that. But in that, when I started practicing Reiki on fellow vets, I was seeing a lot. And so I'll say it was, not the normal Reiki where it's, you just, you do your normal Reiki practice, but I was seeing a lot. I was almost seeing flashbacks, but I knew this wasn't me, this was them, and they needed to allow that to process out of them. So I just allowed that to take place. And I went to see, or I actually took some classes in mediumship work and psychic work, and I realized that, okay, I have this gift as well. And I, practice doing that. So I, balance between all of it at once while I'm practicing Reiki. The only thing I don't incorporate into a Reiki practice when I'm working with someone is my channeling work, because that is a completely separate energy stream and a completely separate focal point for what I do. So.
Gotcha. So when you're channeling, you sometimes don't even remember everything.
I don't remember a thing. I've been doing
none of it.
None of it since 2018, from my very first QHHT session. That's how I learned that I was a trance channel. I remember maybe the first 15, 20 minutes of the induction and into those first stages. And I dropped off into an abyss of trance and I was out. And when we came back the other side, and when she brought me back to the other side, I had no idea what took place, but I knew I was sweating profusely. I was drained energetically, but I was amped up with like, what was this? Yeah. And so the practitioner came back several weeks to kind of refine that process for me, and really introduced me into a lot of my team that I work with, a lot of the different energy that I connect to, and which then spurred Allison on to become Beyond Quantum healing practitioner. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So we've been doing it since 2018-ish, and all the many sessions we've ever done, whether it's pets or higher selves, personal channelings, the galactic channelings we're doing. Yep. Don't remember a thing. Wow. It's very strange, but
what happened?
Right. I come to accept it. I've come out of channelings, group channelings in front of people, and people are crying, they're sobbing. And I'm like, okay, well, what did I say? Hopefully it was good, but it is all good, because it's all, it's all loving. It's all purposeful. So
I think sometimes the vibration too, because I've cried before coming to your once a month channelings that you do. And I've gotten choked up just because the vibration is palpable.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels so pure, and it's so high that it's almost sometimes hard to breathe.
And you're experiencing that via Zoom. So
Right.
we have individuals, when I first started this, that refuse to sit directly in front of me. So whenever I do channelings now, they usually leave a spot open right in front of me so people don't sit and get blasted with that, blasted
That's
with that energy.
great. Need an emergency zone.
Right.
Stay out of the line of fire.
That's right. But I mean, you asked the question of, how did this lead into the pet book, or
Yes.
love notes, and really that was accidental. It was really an accidental happening. We were working with a friend of ours, and one of our cats was having some behavioral issues, and unbeknownst to me, while I'm still in trance, I guess they already made this agreement that Allison would try to bring through one of our cats and see if we could, tap into that energy and, see what took place. We had no idea, or I had no idea, but Allison had no idea which direction it would go.
Okay.
And so Allison called upon one of our cats, Dasher. And
sorry, that's kind of funny. Allison's like, we are going to figure out what's going on with this cat. It's okay. We'll get him under, and then we'll ask.
Right. I think we were doing a higher self channeling for her, and she was always game.
She's one of our regulars that likes to come, and we kind of call it the sandbox. We come here and play, and she wanted to play around, answer some very different questions of her higher self. And usually we bring in some other things too. So it was not uncommon to do that, but to bring in one of the cats, that was something absolutely new. And that's the one nice thing, like, there is really no limit if you are able to tap into whatever energy stream is available. So Allison had this idea, hey, the cat's higher self can step in, could it not? So let's try.
Yeah.
And
so this actually just came up. I'm so glad that the conversation has led here, because I was in the Soul Center Healing Hypnosis chat group, and the other day I had a session where I went under, and we connected with a tree in my yard, or I connected with a tree in my yard, because I think she was sick. And then I wanted to get some other information about the area as well. And we were able to send her healing. And that led me to what was going to be one of my questions for today was, everyone's so curious now. Do you have any advice while under quantum hypnosis, or for practitioners, of how to connect in with animals' higher selves, or even to practice channeling while you're under hypnosis?
Well, in terms of connecting with animals or plants or whatever else you want to connect with, once the client's in that trance state, it's just a matter of asking the higher self or the guides, if there's an appropriate guide, to act as the surrogate, essentially, right? And just connect you to that energy stream. The same way that if I have a parent and they have questions about their child, I want to talk directly to the child's higher self, then we go through the parent. Once we connect with the parent, we ask permission to bring in the child, and the child comes in.
Okay.
So it's just as simple as that. And we also help people that feel like they're ready to channel, because as you said, everybody's awakening, and people are showing up and saying, this thing in my throat, I just feel like something needs to come out. Like, people are starting to want to channel on their own, and they feel very awkward about having weird sounds coming out, because channeling is not always in English. It can be in all sorts of sounds and clicks and noises. But it's about, in the beginning, letting that vibration emanate through the mouth, or sometimes through the body. And so we hold the highest vibration. Will holds vibration. I act as the facilitator, and when I sense that the client is in that relaxed state, then I'll sort of coax out the information, get them in a relaxed state. So the same thing could be done if you're a practitioner and you have them, and you've done the induction, you have them nice and relaxed. You can sort of coax that out of them. I
think a key point in that is to be very aware of your client. So knowing visually what those stages look like in the client. And because, I mean, and I just have to reference back to my very first QHHT session. I mean, vibrationally, I felt connected right away, but I knew I was aware of the room, I was there and everything else. But I would love to have seen a recording, but I guarantee there was a point at which my physical body shifted just enough, maybe just a nuance, of when I dropped over that edge into that trance state. And that's what Allison's really great at when we have a client and we're holding that space. Typically when we do that and we have the client, we sit in we'll call it a somewhat of a circle of 3 people. But I enter into that just before state. I get to my highest vibrational point right before I bring into my collective or any other being that I'm going to channel, because that's at the highest vibrational state. And I hold that around the client to allow them to relax into their own vibration and allow it to sit there. But it's Allison that really can watch the nuance in the physical presence to know when that tipping point takes place. That's the beauty in it. It's knowing when that tipping point is, that they actually drop into a trance state.
And it doesn't always happen like in my BQH sessions. Sometimes it's the client relaying the information.
Right.
Every now and then, when you have a client who is that connected and who can easily get into that trance state, then you can ask the guides or the higher self to speak through the client. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they can and sometimes they can't. Sometimes it's just hard, particularly on the first session, for them to get out of their brain enough to be able to allow them, to speak through.
Yeah, and I think too, it's also fair to say that, there is a stark contrast between the trance channel, which I am, and a conscious channel. I've done both. I do both. The conscious channel doesn't happen very frequently, but I know when it's taking place because I'm aware enough that I can look at Alice and go, hey, hit the recorder on something because something's coming through. And so most of our friends that we've worked with and many of our friends that do channel, they're a conscious channel, whether it's through light language or whether it's through verbal voice. And so it's again, there's a little nuance there too of knowing how deep your client actually is at the point in which they tip over into one side or the other of that.
That's a really
channeling.
good point, because truly a lot of people are nervous about going into the deep trance that requires you to turn off completely and allow another being to speak through your body. I mean, there's a lot of stigma to that in the old energy, especially the older people who've been mediums and channels for a long time, and they're like, nobody's going to take over my body, that's not a good thing, don't let anything take over your body. And it's not about that. And the energy is so different now that when you know that you're connected and you have a gatekeeper, you're connected to the highest frequencies possible and the most loving beings, and you know that your team is protecting you and your body, then it's okay. But it requires a great level of trust to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say, and I'm not saying this as a word of caution, but from the point at which I started channeling, and that was through QHHT, as I progressed through BQH and into that as Allison induced me, and then eventually being able to self-induce, which I'll do today, you'll see that later. It's the first 5 months of that, my body, as I came out of a deep trance state, was, I call it I felt like a wet bag of jello. Everything just did not fit together. I couldn't see straight. I couldn't sit. I couldn't talk. I had to eat something that was high in sugar, like an orange or something, to revive my body, to get the processes started again. And so, I was never fearful at any point along that transition point, along that, that point of integration, because I knew that I was being, I'll say, protected or aligned appropriately. My body was going through an adjustment period. And I knew that. I mean, marathon runners don't just decide they're going to go run a marathon and then day 2, after they strap on their shoes, they run 26 miles.
Right.
They practice. And so I was in my training stage, and my body had to learn how to associate the different levels of energy and the different frequencies of energy and the different, I'll say, beings that I connect to, or different consciousnesses that I connect to. Each one is different. Even now, I mean, as the hundreds that I've done, if there is a new consciousness that I connect to, it takes a second, and it does settle in, and I feel it, and I'll come out the other side, go, whew, that was a solid energy. What was that? Who did we connect to? So it is very real for me.
Right.
But it is, for me, I have no fear. I know from the onset, through the channels, from the initial channels, that I selected this for myself. I selected this opportunity for myself to be able to relinquish control of my full aspect of a human, set that aside to allow my energy to connect with whatever consciousness that might be. So,
Sure.
yeah.
I totally get that, though, the almost getting acclimated to the energies too, like how you said you had to eat something high in sugar afterwards and you kind of built up your endurance.
Yeah.
I think even for practitioners with any kind of energy work, even hypnosis, at first it knocks you out, and then you kind of build up that endurance, and then you can start handling even the higher frequencies.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
So I remember my first time where the client connected in with Christ consciousness. I thought I was going to pass out. I'm just like I don't even know, like just sobbing, and my whole body was shaking, and I was like, oh. And the higher self actually was like, okay, ladies, we need to wrap this up now. Like your human
Right.
bodies can only handle so much. And I'm like, okay, I like had it on mute.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah.
totally know what you mean. And then,
Yeah.
you need kind of time to recover.
Yep. But
Um,
it's an amazing space when you step over that threshold and you allow
feels
yourself
good.
to enter there, for sure.
Yeah, it feels good. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it feels really good. Um, we kind of did go off on a tangent there, but we also covered some questions I was already going to answer you. That's how you know you're talking to intuitives, because I've already checked half the stuff off the list
Yeah.
here. So what made you decide then to write the book? The cat you channeled the cat out of necessity, sort of, right? And
Mhm.
then were these sessions just so incredible that you felt like you had to share them with everybody?
Absolutely.
They really are incredible.
Yeah, the session with Dasher, it was like on a Friday or a Saturday, and I said, this is the last ditch effort. He was unfortunately urinating everywhere, and it was to the point where it was so stressful that I couldn't take it anymore. I said to my family, I said, he's going to the vet on Monday, and we're going to put him down. I just can't deal with it anymore. That's how serious it was, and I thought, well, if this can help, let's try it. What the heck?
Right.
And it immediately changed his behavior. Then the next time that I saw Dasher, he was slump in my lap and just purring away, and the behavior went away. And
Oh.
it was because when you connect with their soul, with their higher self, as you know, and it's your animal, it's different when it's a client too, even, but when it's your animal, you can connect on such a different level that you can't hide anymore. You know each other intimately. And so it's just a completely different bond with that animal after that. And
Right.
so we had ended up that day talking to all three of our cats, and it was just so profound that I thought, people need to hear this. This is life-changing. And so we called over some friends of ours who had 5 rescue dogs. They had been, abused throughout their life. They had, trauma and abuse and things like that. And
Right.
some, they didn't even know their history, and they had different medical conditions and issues. And what was so cool is we did all 5 of them in one sitting, and the 2 moms were sitting there watching. And as he brought the animals through, you could see their personalities. I mean, you can just see the change in energy at each animal, and the voice changes, their personality comes out. Those 2 moms were flabbergasted, the human moms, and they were like, this, it was just so incredible that I knew that we had to make this a priority. And so we started doing more sessions and more sessions. And next thing I know, it's 2 years later, and I have hundreds of sessions. And there were some common themes that would arise. Everybody wants to know about, what happens when they transition and should I help them? What about euthanasia? What about if my animal has been abused? How can I help, or what can I do? Has my pet been with me before? What about reincarnation? How does that work? What about pet siblings? Do they get along? Do they talk? All of that sort of thing. And so it just sort of developed all these little chapters based on the topics that kept cropping up.
I'm
And,
sorry. Can you hear the dogs barking?
A little bit, not too bad.
Not too bad. Okay. I just wanted to check.
Yeah.
The mic's working well then. Sorry to interrupt you. I didn't want to keep going if
That's a good, it's fine. It was just real faint in the background. I heard just a little something.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. So these chapters sort of developed themselves, and the book put itself together. And it's such a beautiful book. I'm so proud of it because, the words aren't mine. Most of the words are not mine. And when you read them, just as I feel when I'm in a session with them, the love just shines through, and you just want to cry because it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, my heart literally hurt reading some of it, in a good way though. I was trying to record little segments for this, for a little B-roll or whatever introduction, and I'm just like sobbing. Like, I can't read the last sentence. And I'm like, pause, cut that out.
That's funny.
Really, yeah. I have a couple of questions about the book from some people that I connected with in different spiritual groups or even practitioners. One of them is, or have you even gone there with animals or the animal collective? What is their stance on humans eating meat?
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
Let me think if I've ever asked that. I don't know that I've ever asked that directly. The closest I think that we came was with us eating honey, because we became vegan around the time that we started channeling animals, and I think that was completely purposeful, not consciously purposeful. And now I can't even imagine myself ever eating meat again, because I talk to the animals and I feel like I just wouldn't be able to do that. Right. So, but vegans don't eat honey, true vegans. And I always felt that honey was a gift from the bees. So one of the chapters is about the bees, because I wanted to ask them about their honey, and they said it's a gift for humans. It is a gift. But I don't think I have asked about eating meat. We haven't talked to any, other than a rooster, we haven't talked to farm animals like steer or cattle. So no, I can't, I don't know. That's an uncomfortable question to ask an animal, right?
It is, but I also feel too that I know that plants and stuff are in a different, they're 1D apparently, or supposedly. But I also know that animals come here for an exchange too. So I was just curious, maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't in the future, but just curious if
I
that
can tell
ever
you,
did come up, like people surviving. I'm thinking of like Native Americans, and they used every part of the animal, and they really heavily relied upon that animal, and they praised it and worshiped it and thanked it and, needed it to survive.
I think in all of the conversations I've had with animals, I could pretty much tell you what they would say. And you're exactly right, that they understand their life, because it's the same thing as animals eating other animals.
Right.
And we've had that conversation about how sometimes in the cycle, animals tend to incarnate first as the prey and then as the predator. And I think it was even the eagles that might have said that in the book, but they have to understand that that is a gift for them to survive. This prey is a gift for them. And so once you are the prey, you have a greater appreciation of being a predator. and giving thanks for your meal. The snakes have said that, the rats have said that. But giving thanks for that food being able to nourish your body. So I think that animals probably feel that in the same way towards humans, but they want to be respected. The same way that
Right.
the eagle respects the mouse that he's going to eat because he's been a mouse or been prey and understands that role. I think the same holds true for us. If we respect that animal and treat it ethically, harvest it in a respectable manner, then it's okay, because a lot of humans do need meat. I mean, I think we're evolving away from that eventually, but that grounds us. The meat grounds us to earth, and so there's a purpose for that.
Sure. Yeah, that all makes sense. And I think your answer was just as good, as I think you've spoken to so many animals that you can speak on their behalf at this point. Um, but I think a lot of people would agree with you too, that as long as it's done in the right way and the respect is there, rather than just this factory style,
Yes.
like it's barbaric.
Right, right.
But speaking of vegan, um, I heard that you two are on a cleanse right now.
We
So,
just finished. We just finished.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, I know that for most of us, that psychic protection, spiritual hygiene, especially if you're a healer or a practitioner, we all understand it's at utmost importance. But besides this 30-day detox, what else do you do to uh, keep your energy clear and keep your vessel clear? And how do you prepare for sessions in that way?
It's a good topic. For me, I'll honestly say that right from the beginning, I've not, you know, I've not set up a ritualistic practice of, oh, I need to wand myself, or I need to sit with this, or I need to do that. Because again, when I first started doing the channeling, that was some of my questioning. How do I protect myself? How do I ward myself off while I'm in trance? How do I, do all that stuff? And really the essence that came through in my initial contact with my team was that when we step in, and there's nothing more that you have to worry about. We are here to be part of you, and you can just relax and let yourself go, because we're here. You can say we're here to protect you. I don't necessarily want to subscribe to the whole, oh, I have to do something to protect me, or somebody else is doing something to protect me, because that lends into a couple different avenues. But I've never felt where I've needed a ritualistic practice. Now, daily life, when I come up here, because I have a sacred space or a sacred container that I do my work in, yes, I'll sit with some Palo Santo. I've got a mantra that I use before I do any channelings. I sit with the animal or the higher self, the person's name, and just really focus on that energy and bring that in. That I'm locking into it. I'm bringing that energy here into this sacred space so that I can become the voice for the highest good. And then from that, once I depart here and I close off the space and I go back to the house, because it is separate from the house, I disconnect from that, and I leave that, that boundary is here, and I leave all of that here. I don't, I don't take that with me. Now, every time we do a cleanse or anything like that, I will say my sensitivity level goes through the roof. I felt on the onset of that cleanse process that I needed to cocoon up a little bit. I needed to kind of withdraw and go inward and just be for myself. And I knew that. And then Saturday, or was it Saturday or Sunday? I don't remember. I don't even know what day of the week it is. Saturday.
Me neither.
Right. A good friend of ours, or a couple of ours, they wanted to bless their space that they have and do a cacao ceremony and some drumming and stuff. And that burst me right out of my cocoon. And I was right back up in the stratosphere, and I was so connected and so alive. And then today I had to go shopping, and I was like, holy moly, I can't walk around this grocery store because
People are a mess.
people are a hot mess. I could just
Yeah.
I could just feel like everybody's in the grocery store wanting to buy stuff for Thanksgiving and be in a good mood, but everybody's energy is just the actual
Yeah.
opposite of that. And it was
Like
just like, get me out of here.
panicked. Yeah.
Yeah, get me out of here. And I'm not usually like that, but the longer I go and the more I do, it's like a reversal. Everything goes, all my sensitivities go way up, and I'm just, okay. It's not that I want to pull myself out of society, no, but I know what my limits are. And I think that's the most important thing, is learning your limits. When you're exploring and you're coming into your own and you're living your truth, explore your limits. Don't go to Walmart if you don't feel like going to Walmart. Go to another grocery store. Go to a little mom and pop shop. I mean, it's finding your limits and not testing yourself too greatly in those limits until you feel secure in what you're doing. So
Right.
funny. The first thing you said was Walmart, and I'm like, that is my least favorite place to go. And I have to wrap up energetically so much, and I'm like, we gotta get in, we gotta get out, we gotta go in, we gotta get out. Of
yeah,
course, that's the first place you named. But how about you, Allison? What do
So
you
this
do for? Yeah.
this question is it's a little unfair because I'm not an empath. I'm not what I would call a traditional empath.
Okay.
I think I'm becoming more sensitive, but I'm not the kind of person that can't go to Walmart or can't go to New York City or a lot of other things I've heard empaths say, oh my gosh, I could never do that.
Sure.
And I think because I'm not an empath, I can do this work even better as a facilitator, because when we have clients who feel that they have energy attachments or things that need clearing or whatever, it doesn't bother me because I can't sense it, I can't feel it, I can't see it. I know that it's there. I intuitively know that it's there, but it doesn't impact my body whatsoever or my energetic field. So I'm just like, get the hell out of here. And I do what we need to do, and Archangel Michael comes in and we do our thing.
Sure.
And I think it serves me not to be that kind of an empath. So I'm a little bit of a cheater. I don't have a whole lot of protection things I need to do. And I also subscribe to that theory that if you say you need protection, then it assumes there's something there to be protected from.
or fearful of.
And I think
Sure.
we're the most powerful beings that there are. And when you embody the I am presence, it should take care of itself. But I understand there are people that can feel these things in their field and need to do that. I do have a selenite wand that I sweep around my field frequently. I ground. We live near the beach, so I enjoy getting my feet in the sand and in the water or in the backyard. I spend a lot of time out in the sun, letting the sun wash over me and things like that. So maybe that's intuitive and I don't realize it.
It is. And there are so many different kinds of empaths too. The ones that you're describing, that's just the one that you just have to be very careful.
Yeah.
But I was wondering also, do you integrate your Reiki into your hypnosis, or do you integrate your Reiki into his channeling? Like if the animal says, I have a problem with this, are you able then, while he is channeling that animal, to send it energy or do any work at that time? Or is that completely separate?
I wouldn't call it Reiki per se. When I'm doing a BQH session, I will put my hands over the area that's being healed. If there's a place that needs support, as the higher self is healing it, I might lay my hands on or near that body part. And I guess you could call that sending Reiki. When I'm doing healings for animals through channeling, though, I use my BQH skills big time in terms of whether it's cutting cords or visualization techniques for the animal, connecting them to source, closing a door to a past life for an animal, because that can be traumatic in this life, believe it or not, just like it can for humans.
Sure.
So that's real fun to use those BQH skills in a channeling. But I don't typically use Reiki in channeling, but I do sometimes in BQH.
Okay. Do you offer Reiki for animals?
Not really. There are people that specialize in that. I find that animals are already of such a high level of consciousness to begin with that a lot of times what we're offering them is not even as high as what they do for themselves regularly. But I do know there are great instances of animals, horses particularly, receiving Reiki well and lying down, which is unusual. Pets receive Reiki from their humans all the time. We don't typically do that.
Yeah.
Not too much.
I
No.
kind of sometimes try to, my animals can get anxious, and so kind of try to transmute a little bit of that, and it works. They're very receptive to it.
Awesome.
How about you guys share with me each of your favorite stories from the book?
He hasn't read it. He does not read my work.
Nor do I listen to any of my channels ever. I've not.
That's great.
Hundreds of channels. Higher selves, myself, the Galactics, the animals.
So
Not
how
listen
about
to.
in all of our channelings, when I would debrief you at the end, are there any stories that stand out in your mind?
Well, the one that's probably most significant is the one that Tom wrote the foreword for the book.
Oh, right.
About the bees. To me, that's probably the most profound. So we channeled the bee collective, as Allison was alluding to earlier, as well as there were two collectives. It was the bee collective and the wasp collective. So they were right back to back to each other. And it was, Allison gave me some excerpts out of it. I understood it. It made sense. Well, then Candace from BQH, she and her husband, Tom, were getting ready to start a beehive. They wanted to start, I guess, beekeeping. Well, Tom had to drive 2 and some hours away to someone that was going to give them a starter hive, which if anybody has ever done bees, they understand it. If not, you basically get a box that's a mesh box with 10,000 bees in it. And you have a queen that's in the middle of it in a little wooden box. Well, you know what a few bees sound like. Can imagine what 10,000 bees sounds like on
Like
the
electricity almost. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're just going to town, and Tom remembers Candace saying, "Hey, when you just humor me, when you get ready to leave, when you get into service, play Will's channeling of the Bee Collective for me, would you please?" So he does. He gets into service and
but he's left brain, and he's like, "This is what I'll humor her, but this is not
Sure.
Right. Yeah. I'll play it. Sure. Whatever.
Yeah.
He plays it, and the bees literally, it's like somebody just turned the volume off. They all just went boop. They went quiet. But immediately, as soon as that ended and the wasps came on, they just went haywire again. So he said,
ready to protect their queen.
Right. So he rewound to the beginning, played it again, and they went boop, quiet. And then as soon as the wasp came on, so he did that 5 or 6 times or whatever it was. And each time he said, if I hadn't been there to see that, I would have thought you were nuts if you were telling me this. But each time that I played the Bee Collective, it was like they sensed their own frequency and they just went quiet. And that to me was so profound. But there are so many other instances of profound outcomes from clients that we've had, immediate profound outcomes. So.
Yeah, the past life healings are super fun and amazing to me, and it was almost accidental. I mean, I didn't have any theories one way or the other going in to all of these channelings that there was such a thing as a past life for an animal, or that those lives could interfere with this one until it happened, and it was fascinating. But my favorite one is Sasha, the bomb sniffing dog. She came from overseas where she was sniffing for bombs, and when she would find it, she would alert to it, and then they would call her back to the truck. So she'd go up a ramp into her kennel in the truck, and then they would detonate the bomb. And sometimes they would detonate the bomb before Sasha was up the ramp and safely in her kennel. And so she ended up pairing, going up this ramp to the sound, and it scared her. So when her human dad adopted her, he didn't know much about her history other than she was a bomb sniffer for the Army. And at some point early on, I guess he lived in a 2-story townhome, and Sasha refused to go up the stairs. And he thought, well, maybe, I think she's a lab, so maybe her hips were bothering her or whatever. So I believe his mother is a BQH practitioner and recommended us to have a session with us. And so what Sasha said was this story about, going up the ramp. It took us a while to figure this out because the dog doesn't understand all of this stuff.
Right.
So paired this going up the stairs with being unsafe. And once we figured that out, she was fine after that. She recognized why she was afraid to go up the stairs. She knew now she's not in that environment anymore. There's no bomb that's going to happen. Her dad's going to take care of her. And it's just profound and transformative.
Before I did want to say about, is it Sasa or Sasha?
Sasha?
Yeah. I think my favorite part was when she was asked if it's time for her to retire, and then you explained to her what retirement was. I thought that was so funny because of course you have to explain to them what that is. But I really liked that she's like, no, like when I put my vest on, I feel important. And
Yeah.
I want to be with people. And I was like, it just made sense. I'm like, yeah, she's going to go until she can't do it anymore because that's just what they do.
Right. We call them working dogs, but they don't consider it working. They love it.
They love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big lesson in that right there. Like,
For sure.
For sure.
yes. But I also wanted to thank you guys for like that perfectly honest answer of he doesn't read any of my stuff because my partner has not heard a single session of mine. He has not checked out my YouTube. I don't even think he follows me on Instagram.
Right. My children don't read my books. My husband doesn't read my books. It's like, whatever. I have to go
feel the love.
I have to seek accolades somewhere else.
See, now I'm the bad husband. Oh boy. No, here's the interesting thing. So today, Allison received from one of the submissions she did to one of the, book award groups and submitted love notes for review. You can submit your book for review, an honest, in-depth review. And I read that review and it was just outstanding. I mean, it really, it made me feel good because that's really, like, we all have our gifts. That's Allison's true gift, is putting words to paper. And it really just, it gives, so much emphasis on what truly Allison does the best at. And that's that, and no, I haven't read it, but I know what most of the content is. I just don't know the filler pieces. So,
Well, thank you for that. And that was a nice review, but in that particular competition, that book did not win an award. However, Sunday morning, I woke up and both books had won awards. Love Notes won another finalist, and Journey won Best Cover and won Best in the Spirituality category. So that was a pleasant surprise just Sunday.
Congratulations.
So, thank you.
Yes, I really think that everybody needs to read Love Notes. I don't even care if you're not an animal lover. Like, it just needs, I think there's this disconnect sometimes for humans. Like, humans see animals as beneath them or something to control or to possess or to eat. And I think part of this new energy is realizing that we are all one, that we all are here to learn from each other. And Yeah, it's just so beautiful. I love this book so much.
Thank you. And as you
Yeah.
mentioned, the back, that's what the Animal Collective says in the afterword, is that we are here for you just as you are here for us. And it's a symbiotic relationship, you know?
That's the part that made me cry.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna try to read it again. I don't know. Might do one of those where you type it out and the robot speaks for you. I don't know.
Right.
It's a mess. Um, well, Will, you might not know because you don't remember all of it, but maybe you know because you're in communication with the clients. But I would like to ask both of you, do you have a favorite success story from these hundreds of sessions that you've done? How you were able to change the lives of the parents or the animals? I'd love to hear maybe some success stories.
Is it was it Maximus that had the epilepsy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one that's the one to me that really strikes, a memory for me is a friend of ours, actually. It's her dog, and had seizures, continued seizures, especially when there was, I guess, loud noises and flashing lights, like fireworks. We'll just call it, like during fireworks or lightning storms and stuff. And every time it would happen, she would have a seizure, or a severe seizure. And then I'll let Allison pick up from there because it gets a little fuzzy for me. But all
Okay.
I know is that, moving forward, because we still stay in contact with her to this day, and that's been
A couple of years.
at least, has not had a seizure since.
Wow.
Well, that was another past life.
Mhm.
He had 3 past lives. One was a bear, and I think a dog, and some other animal. But in each of those, he had been shot. So he heard this bang, saw this flash. Next thing he knows, he's out of the body, and then reincarnates back into another body. And it happened 3 different times. So he began to equate these loud bangs and flashes with dying and coming out of the body. So in this life, that's what was happening. But there's so many of those types of stories. But one of my other favorite stories, which wasn't in the book because it came after, was a guy, it was a family that had a dog, and the dog wouldn't get in the car, never wanted to get in the car. And when you're a family and you want to take your dog on outings and take him to the vet and stuff, and he's freaking out and refuses to get in the car. It turns out that he had a phobia of cars because he was a wolf in the prior life. And he tells this story, and it's so vivid as they're telling it. He's like, because he's watching this life, and it's so wild to watch them make this connection, because they don't even realize they can look at past lives until you ask them to. And so he's looking at this life, and he's like, oh, I see my pack, and we're running, and we're having fun, and they run across the road, and so I chase them, but I'm further behind, and boom, he gets hit by a car and dies. And so now he doesn't want anything to do with cars,
But has
doesn't
no
want to get
idea
in.
why. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't want to get in them or whatever. So he was able to give us some tips on how his human parents, could help condition him to get used to being back in the car again and stuff. But once he makes that realization, that's half the battle right there. So that was kind of a neat one.
That's so fascinating. I think sometimes I forget that animals have past lives too, or other lifetimes, I guess I should say.
Mhm.
And their phobias or their ailments can be from those lives just as
Mhm.
much as it happens for us. Your dog is afraid of cars or a vacuum, or whatever little weird quirks they have. It might not always be something that you did. It could be from another lifetime.
Mhm.
Right.
That's good to know. um I think one last thing before I'll ask you if there is anything you would like to say would be, what are the top reasons people come to see you? What do they need help with generally and mostly?
I think they just want to connect. They really are pet lovers and they want to connect with their animal. A good number of them have senior animals, and they may transition at any time. And so they want help with that and how they can best serve and comfort their animal during that time. I think they want to talk to them one last time before they transition, because it is really fun, like I said, to connect with your dog or cat or any animal while they're living, because it changes that relationship so drastically. Once they've passed on, we can talk to them as well. We do that, but it's not quite the same. Yeah, it's nice and it helps your grief for sure. But it's, when you have that ongoing relationship, it's fun to talk to them. So typically it's end of life issues or health concerns or just that connection. A lot of them do have health concerns that we try to pinpoint it. That's a little more difficult because the animals
health concerns. Okay.
They don't have the words. They don't understand pancreatitis or
sure
whatever. So what they tell us is where it feels weird in their body. We try to pinpoint the location, so at least the vet can hone in on that location, or they'll tell us when it happens, like is it when they eat or use the restroom, when do they get the pain, when did it start, all that sort of stuff.
Or certain foods taste different, or the water is different, or
right.
Minute things like that then can be part of the owner's kind of research for them to
sure kind of just clues,
small clues
to
right.
Bring to your vet, or have a dog fight going on right now. They're a mess.
It's all good. It's all good.
Now I lost my train of thought. Oh, behavioral problems. Isn't that kind of how this all started?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not really get a lot of that though?
Oh, we do.
Yep.
You do.
And when I say health, I guess it's health and behavior equally.
Mm-hmm.
Behavioral, if it stems from a past life, is a little easier because once the realization comes in, the animals can work to help that subside if it doesn't immediately subside. And the behavioral, and when they understand the impact that their behavior is making, you can see them, they're just so sad about it and realizing, oh, I didn't realize that it was affecting you so much. We just had a cat that had bitten her mom twice, but when she's rubbing him, he gets in such a state that he's sort of like zones out. And when she stops, he bites, and he doesn't mean to break the skin, but he has. And so when I brought that to his attention, he's like, he feels terrible.
I find that very hard to believe from cats, but I'll take your word for it.
Right.
You're mean.
He was very remorseful. And so once you bring that to their attention and then the parent verbally reminds them after that, it helps a lot.
I do know I've been speaking my dog the whole past week, every morning, like, we're going to get to talk to each other. What are you going to say to me? What do you want to say? And she just looks at me and I'm like, tell me everything.
That'll be fun. I can't wait.
Yes. I'm like, you get to speak human to me, human words to me. Are you excited? And she's like, I have no idea what you're saying, but maybe.
This will be fun.
I'm very, very excited. I think the work that you're doing is so important. And I know you guys, I don't even know when you have time to sleep. You have so much going on. And you have children too. Like, I can barely handle like one modality, and y'all are talking to angels and communicating with pets, and you work with children. You're a guidance counselor, right?
School
or
counselor,
a therapist.
Yep.
Okay.
A school counselor.
My goodness.
And channeling a whole nother series of stuff for a new book. So yeah, it's ongoing.
Do we get to know what the next book might be about?
That one
go ahead.
Is our Galactic history. So that'll be fun. That one's really fun. We're talking to the original 12 starseed clusters, the source points for each of the starseeds.
Are you going to release like little teasers along the way?
I haven't yet. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because it's such new material and new concepts for the new Earth. The truth that's been hidden from us for so long.
So much. I've been digging into that a lot lately too. Oh, I'm really excited.
Yeah,
Me too. I
That's gonna
love
be great.
all things
we've wrapped up.
extraterrestrial.
Yeah, we've wrapped up 5 so far, and each one of those have been almost 2 hours long each session. So it's dense with information, very, very informative. But yeah, it's kind of like a ancestry.com for your galactic life. So,
Nice.
so
Are you gonna go into things like blood type or even the 12 strands of DNA, like all that kind of stuff? Or are you just
Oh,
seeing where it takes you?
we already have.
Okay.
Well, in our normal channeling practice early on, the practitioner that started with QHHT with him was very much into blood types, and she asked a lot of those questions. So remind me, and I'll send that to you later if you want it.
Yes.
Um,
Thank
but
you.
in terms of the 12 strands of DNA, this is what I will tell you. I'll tell your listeners, your viewers, you get a secret teaser.
All right. All 30 of us for now.
This is going to be big. You're going to have a lot.
Yes.
There's 12 starseed clusters, 12 strands of DNA. That's what they correlate to. But when you come into this body, there are 2 active, and you write into your contract, as part of your contract, which 2 you're going to align with. The first one is your primary galactic alignment, the one that's working with you currently. The second one is your original starseed cluster, where your soul came from. And those change every time you're in a human body because you select who you want to work with, essentially.
Interesting.
And as you start, they said what you're doing, you're activating those 12, all 12. You're never going to fully activate them because you would have no need to be in a human body if all 12 were active. So what you're doing is basically harmonizing or resonating with them. And as you do that, then each of the gifts from those other clusters can come in, the more that you start to harmonize with them.
So much stuff is like going off in my head right now because that makes so much sense because you know how sometimes your client's higher self will give messages to you like, oh, I have something to tell you. I've never felt a connection with the Palladians. It's always been very Lyran in this lifetime.
Me too.
Yeah. and people are like, no, Palladian for sure. And I'm like, I feel absolutely no connection to that whatsoever. And then the other day, she channeled a Palladian, and they're like, we're with you too. We're guiding you through this work. And I was like, why does everyone keep saying that? And so that makes total sense.
Yeah, that might be your origination.
It could be your source cluster, as well as just maybe the Palladian strand that is harmonizing with your Lyran strand. So there's a lot of variance that takes place in there, and when it's needed, think of it like a guitar string. It gets plucked, you get all the information you need out of it because it's singing appropriately, and then it just quiets down until it's needed again. So
you're using like one main one in this lifetime, but you can still kind of access that other frequency.
Well, you're really using the 2.
Yeah,
you're really using the 2.
Yep.
One is your primary alignment.
Okay.
That can kind of be handed off. Sometimes you might work with the Lyrans and then they pass you off to the Pleiadians or somebody else. But then you have your source point one. But you're going to get information from all of them because you're a combo of all of them. All humans are.
Right.
And so it's really kind of irrelevant, but it's just fun to know.
Yeah, I do notice though that we kind of find each other. Like it's
Lyrans are so drawn. We're drawn together.
Yeah. I call it my LiDAR. I swear I can sense like a mile away now. I'm like, oh yeah.
It's interesting. When we first started doing the channeling work, my primary team, the collective, is Enoch, Raphael, Michael, and Source. And Enoch is ascended to become Metatron.
Right.
I'll say over 70% of the clients that I first started channeling or working with, their primary connection, unbeknownst to me until they come and say, well, I've got this affinity for Metatron. I see Metatron this, and I see all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because it's that alignment. So we we get connected together, so that's going to be an easier process to get into your higher self. So so the Lyrian connections or anything like that, they all harmonize together to have a beautiful connection for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because I work a lot with Archangel Michael, Raphael, and then for the really big stuff I call in Metatron, like the stuff that I'm like, wait, everyone here.
Mhm.
So whenever I listen to one of your channelings, I'm always like, it's so on point and so tapped in because it's literally everything that they've been telling us in sessions for like the past week or two or the past month, because you do it monthly. And I'm like, I hear ya. I'm listening. I hear ya.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
All right. Would y'all like to take a break?
please.
Yeah, real quick,
Thank
and then
you
we're going to
so
do our
much.
channeling.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was so fun. I love you guys. You
You
guys
know,
crack me up.
we could go for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so just as I do for all my channelings, I'm just going to ask you to sit, get as comfortable as you can, and just take a couple deep cleansing breaths. Nice long inhale through the nose, nice long exhale through the mouth. Just do that a couple of times, allows all of our energies to get connected together. And as you do, I'm going to go ahead and begin. Hello.
Hi, Fomo.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Where am I?
You're here at the treehouse,
Oh,
and you're speaking to us through a human voice so that we can understand you better.
oh, interesting.
And your mom is here too.
Yes, I sense that. Hello, Mother. Ooh, it's quite strange because I wasn't, well, one moment I'm there and the next moment I'm here, but yet I feel like I'm still there.
You are.
It's quite strange.
Your body, your physical body is there with your mom, and your energetic body is here with us.
Oh, like a dream.
Kind of, yes.
Yes. Oh, okay. Oh, well, okay. If this is what Mother wants, then I'm assuming she's already kind of told you about me.
She did tell me about you.
Okay. Yes.
And I want to ask all about you.
Okay.
But do you have anything you want to say to your mom while you have a human voice?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you because it's interesting because, well, she's always looking at me like, she's always looking at me like I'm thinking something, but really I'm not. I'm just kind of I'm deciding what I want to do. It's not that I'm thinking about something, but I guess maybe that's the look on my face. But I just want to say, I just want to say how much I appreciate everything you do because you're always there just when I need you. So I don't know. Can she read my mind?
Some humans can read the minds of their pets and vice versa.
Because sometimes I think things and she's right there. And I'm not even really asking her for to be there. But it's like she hears me thinking and then she's there. Like she wants to answer something for me.
Probably is the case, yes.
But that's interesting. So, yes, I just want to say thank you for everything that you do because it's so wonderful. Your love is just, well, it's cuddly. It's like a big blanket. And I always like that. Yes.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you're so happy. Yes. So tell me, what was your assignment with your mom?
Oh. Oh, patience. Yes. And I can be a bit of a handful because I don't know. When I bark, it's like, I don't know. I don't know how to be quiet with my bark. So I just, it's my way of saying, hey, I'm here. But yet mom always looks at me like, okay, you can be a little quieter, but I can't. So I think it's just, I guess maybe I'm trying to learn patience too, just to be a little bit more, I don't know, understanding. But it's really, because, just, I see mother doing a bunch of stuff. And so when she's doing a bunch of stuff, I kind of get in the way and I'm not doing that. Well, I am doing it kind of playfully, but I'm also, it's like, I want to make sure mother realizes, hey, you just need to just calm down just a little bit, slow down just a little bit, take a little more patience in what you're doing, because it'll be there. Just relax. It'll be there. That's what I'm trying to help her with.
Thank you. That's a good reminder.
Yes.
And speaking of patience, I understand you have a visitor with you now.
Oh, yes.
So do you need to work on your patience too? Tell me about that. How's that going?
Not so well.
Why is that?
It's, I don't mind other people, other animals in the house that much. But when you come in and you think you've been there longer than I have, no, this is my house. This is my house. And I want to make sure you understand that, you can't be there. That's my place. I don't mind you visiting, but this is my house. But don't come in here and tell me that I've been here longer or I know what I'm doing. No.
Okay, I understand your point. Thank you for that clarification. So we have a couple of questions about some things that you do that we're curious about.
Okay.
So one of the things that you do is in the morning, you always knock your dad's mask off, waking him up exactly 1 hour before the alarm goes off. That's very curious. Tell me about that.
Oh, it's not, it's interesting because I don't know. I don't know exactly. You say 1 hour. I don't know what time it is, but there's something that dad tells me, hey, I need to get up. And so I help him get up. It's his time to get up. I don't know when he's supposed to get up, but it's like I can hear him say, okay, I need to get up now. And so I go over and help him.
So his energy is telling you that?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It's, I don't know if it's his energy, but it's like I can hear, like I asked you if mother can read my thoughts, it's like I can hear his. There's something that's telling me, hey, you got to get up now. It's time to get up. So I don't know. And that's what I do.
So it's not because you can tell time.
No.
So tell me how that works with animals. Do you understand? How much do you understand about time? Like, you know when it's time to
I
go
see
to bed.
numbers. Yes, mother will point to the clock or say something and say, "Oh, it's this time or it's that time." It's the thing with the numbers on it, and I see that. I understand that, but I don't understand what it means. I just know that at a certain point, the sun comes up, and at a certain point, the sun goes down, and in between, there's things to do. And at the time the sun goes down, well, that's the time that I go to bed. But in between, I don't know. There's things to do. But yes.
So you sort of judge your time by the sun.
Yes.
And if your mom were to leave, for example, and if she just ran down the street for a few minutes, or if she had to go to work all day,
yes.
Do you have a sense of how long she's been gone, or the difference between those two things?
Kind of. Well, it's like, so, like I said, I know when the sun comes up. I know when it gets really bright. And then, well, if I look outside and I kind of see where everything's at, and then if mother leaves, and then, well, mother comes back a bit later, I look again, and well, the sun has moved a bit. Well, that's about how long she's been gone. I don't know how long that is. No, there's no need to know what time things are or how long something is. It's the time to get up, the time to eat, the time to play, to do things, time to eat, time to go to bed. It's just, that's what I do.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Thank you for that explanation.
As far as, but here's what's interesting. So if mother leaves or dad leaves or they both leave and they're gone, okay, I understand that. And then, but then I know when they're coming home though, because I sense them, I feel them. It's like, I don't know how far, but there's something inside me that it's like, oh, it's like when people come to the house and they push the button outside and the big bell goes off. It's like that inside me. I feel this tingling, and I know they're going to be home in just a little bit. I don't know exactly how long that is, but I just know that they're almost there.
Right.
Yes.
Because their energy has then impacted your energy, your field.
Yes. Yes.
Very good. Thank you for that. So she did have a question about how to get you to stop screaming at every person that goes by, every car, every dog. So you're just basically telling them that you're there.
Yes.
And she calls your bark a scream.
It is a bit loud, but that's. I don't know if it does bother mother that much. I guess I'll try to be a bit more quiet. I didn't realize. I know she gets on me for it every so often, and because I do get a bit loud, but I didn't realize it was that bad. I'll try to be a bit more quiet. I do like letting everybody know that that's where I'm at. It's kind of like saying hello, but maybe I'm saying it too loud.
Perhaps.
I'll just try to be a little bit more quiet. I don't want to be. I don't know. I don't want to make mother mad, so I'll try my best.
Is it just because you're so excited to see?
Yes.
People and things?
Well, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, oh, I know. It's kind of like when I know mom and dad are coming home. I know when somebody's walking down the street. I don't know when they're actually going to get there, but I feel them. And so each bark, each time I say hello, is a little bit different. And it's really in response to how I feel that energy. So sometimes it is a little bit quieter. Sometimes I have to be really loud because I don't want them coming down my sidewalk. Because it's just, I don't like their energy.
Oh.
Yes.
And do you think they understand what that bark means?
I think so. Yeah. I try to make it clear, but maybe not. I don't know. But I know I have to do that though. That's just me. I have to make that big bark. Even though I'm a little tiny dog, I have to make that big bark because I got to make sure they hear me.
So you do encounter some energies that you don't really care for.
Yes. I'd rather have them across the street. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Well, your mom is also curious how she can get you to enjoy eating your kibble. So I'm guessing there's a problem with you eating your kibble. Tell me about that.
It's, well, It's not that I don't like it. It's okay. But I like things different sometimes. And sometimes I get bored. It's kind of like everything. I don't like doing things the same very long. And so when I get frustrated with something, I'm going to do something different. If I'm looking outside for too long, I have to go and do something else because I can't sit there very long. If I'm cuddling with somebody, I can't sit there very long. I've got to go and do something else.
Wow.
So it's like, I like my food. I like what I eat, but
you need more variety.
I need something at times that's just a bit different. Okay. And then I can go back to it, but I need to have it different sometimes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
So your mom is also curious if you would like a pet sibling. You do have, I guess, a tortoise in the house.
Yes.
First, tell me how you feel about the tortoise.
It's interesting. So there's not much that's said, but very wise. I think there's a lot there. I'd like to be able to learn more, but there aren't many words that are said. So it's very difficult to get to have a conversation. I'd like to. I try. I sit and look, and I want to learn, but there isn't much that I get back.
Sometimes people who are wise, or animals, I guess, who are wise, are of few words. So do you think that's the tortoise's situation?
That might be, yes. I wonder. Maybe I'll look at it differently now. I do feel that it's very wise, but I just don't know how to, I don't know how to interact.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Very but you quiet. Like him.
Oh, yes.
And he likes you?
Yeah, we look at each other very inquisitively at times. I don't know if he realizes I'm a dog, but he does. He'll just slightly turn his head and look at me, and then I'll look right at him. And it's like, well, we're just looking, but we're not even saying anything. So I don't know.
Oh, well, how would you feel about another pet sibling?
Well, if it's anything like my visitor right now, I would prefer to be by myself. But if it's something that mother wishes, and that's, well, I think it would be different because, well, that would be for mother and mother and dad. And I think if she were to bring somebody home, another animal, it would take some time to adjust. But it would be interesting. I would like to learn from the tortoise, but I don't think I'm going to. But I'd like to be able to teach someone something. I'd like to be able to show, well, another animal around. It doesn't matter what it is. I'd like to be there for them. So if it is for mom to do that, that's fine.
That's neat, like being a big brother.
Yes, I'd like that.
Very neat. Do you care if it was a dog, or would you prefer to have a cat or a ferret or something else?
Oh, I haven't given it much thought. I'll let that up to mother. As long as mother wishes it to be, then I'm okay with it. Yes.
Okay, neat. Well, thank you. Well, Fomo, I'd like you to do me a favor. Can you look into your past incarnations and tell me what other animals you've been, or have you always been a dog?
Most of the time I've been a dog, but much bigger. And then I see myself as a little, like a little fox too. And so I think that must have been the one that's the closest to now, because I see that fox and it's all over the place. It's just, oh, it's running everywhere. And I think that's where I get all my energy from. So, yes. But before that, oh, much bigger dogs. Like, the kind that would run around the farm and be with the animals. That's what I was. And I enjoyed that.
I wonder.
I like being the little dog, though, too.
Oh, you do?
I do.
But I wonder if you feel like you're a big dog in a little body. Is that why you're so loud now?
No, most of them that worked with the big animals, they were very quiet. They didn't have to say much.
Oh.
But I do see one that didn't work with the animals, but it was much older, and it would just sit on the porch. And then, but it was kind of like that. What I do when I'm looking outside and I have to bark at people, that's what it would do. It would just, it would alert everybody to say, hey, there's something around. There's another animal around. There's something on the property.
So in looking back at those lives, do you see your mom's energy? Has she ever been with you in those lives?
Oh. Not the dog lives, no, but this little fox, yes, as a little girl. This little girl would always wander out into the woods and just be out there in the woods by herself. And we wouldn't get very close to each other, but we knew we were there. And I'd look at her through the brush, and she could see me, but I would never get very close. So yes, that was her.
Oh,
yes,
that's beautiful.
Yes,
and you recognized her energy now in this life.
Oh yes. That now I understand. Yes, that makes much more sense now. When I knew that moment was taking place, that I was going to go to their home and be with them, go to my forever home and be with mom and dad. I knew there was something familiar. I just wasn't sure what it was. Now I understand.
Yes. And your mom had a pet previously named Mo. Do you know Mo? Does Mo come to visit?
Oh. Well, there's something. Yes. Well, I don't know if it's Mo, but it's like. At times there's this. I don't know how to describe it. Just when I'm getting ready to lay down and I'm getting comfortable, there's this, I guess you could say, there's this energy that comes into the room, and it just stands there and it stares at me. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. I don't have to worry about it, but it just stares at me like, hey, you're in my spot. And I'm like, okay, so I'll have to move a little bit. And then I feel that energy move over and kind of just, I don't want to say lay down. It doesn't lay down, but it sits there next to me because I'm too much in its spot. So, and then it just sits there for a minute and then it just goes away. So that might be it. Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Does it ever speak to you?
No, it just stares at me and just like, I guess making sure that I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing and not being, I don't know, not being too much of a nuisance. Yes.
Well,
it's almost like, it's almost like feeling a parent being there, because it's like I don't have to say anything, but I feel something that I have to do something. Like I might be doing something wrong, but I'm not really sure. So then I just move over, and then everything calms down. I feel the energy, and then it disappears.
Do you think your mom senses that energy too?
I think so, because there's times that when it's sitting there, mom kind of will walk through the room and she'll just stop for a moment, and she'll kind of look around, and then she'll just keep moving. And I think that's what she's sensing.
Oh, yes. Interesting.
It's not very strong. It's just enough to know that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can't tell you whether it is or not, but I just see it and I sense it.
I see. Yes. All right. Well, I can't tell you what a pleasure it was to talk to you today.
Oh, this is wonderful.
It was, wasn't it? Before we close, is there anything else you want to tell your mom, or any more treats that you need, or anything that you need to make yourself even more happy? Or what do you want to share with your parents?
Oh my goodness. I don't need much more. I mean, Mother gives me everything I need. I'm always, well, maybe a little, something more to snuggle with. Maybe something of yours. I don't know. I like that. I like doing that. But I just want to say that I'm so happy to be here because, well, I know we're supposed to be together, and I just want to make sure that you know how much I love you, because you really do give everything to me, and even though I'm a little bit loud, you still give me that little wink every so often, and I just love that. And I just want to say thank you. And I really enjoyed talking like this because I don't know, maybe now you'll understand me a little bit differently when I maybe whine to you or give you a little one of those little barks with a little bit of a bite with it. It's just nipping at you. Like, I just want to make sure you know what I'm doing.
Oh, I think you will.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Fomo, for coming in.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome back. What a funny dog he is. Oh my gosh.
A nut.
He is cute. Oh, it's a her. And I've been saying he the whole time. Crap.
I don't think she minds.
I'm sorry. Oh. I don't know why I had he in my head.
Do we have to do it
I
again?
don't know. She kind of doesn't really act like a female dog, if that makes sense. Not that
Well, I didn't
there's
call.
like a gender, but yeah.
I wouldn't have called her a he, but I was saying he. But anyway, sorry about that. Hope that didn't mess it up.
No, I did. I really barely even noticed because it's not really, it wasn't. I was paying attention to.
I mean, hello. She was so funny though. She was so casual, just so cute, and
she was sitting on my lap, and instead of scream barking, she did like quiet little huffs. Normally she would go absolutely bonkers.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And
scream barking.
I can't, that's the only way I can describe it. She literally, her body will come off the ground because she barks so loud. But and she also did the same thing. She was on my lap for half of the session. She did the same thing when a client's higher self comes in and like that euphoric feeling, she kind of freezes, gets calm, relaxed. She was like that the entire session.
Oh,
that we've seen that at the end of at the end of a session, clients will say, the dog was all over the place, and as soon as you dropped in, they either want to be right there in front of they don't ever come around the computer, but they want to be right in front of the computer because they've sensed something, or they just flop over and they're just out. Yeah.
She was on my lap, so I recorded it on my phone so I could see how she was acting from like down below.
Cool.
Where is she? Can we see her, or is she not near?
Foamy girl. I think she's still high on frequency. So she's kind of just chilling on the couch. But like even you could see the other dog though, the one that she doesn't like very much. Jackson. No, he doesn't listen. Oh, okay. This is yours. Foamy came because she's jealous.
Yes, she is.
Right.
Oh, you're on my headset.
No, no.
All right. Come say hi.
Oh.
Hi.
Oh, no. No. All right, Fomo.
Everybody wants to be on camera.
Guys?
Hi, Fomo.
Hey, Fomo.
Hi, baby. Oh, she's so cute.
You were so much nicer when your consciousness was somewhere else. Okay.
Right.
There you go.
They're so
Got
cute.
the scream bar.
That's why that's the one thing I've been still dealing with some back issues, and it's amazing. I can go into trance for 2 hours and have absolutely no idea what pain level my body is in. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
can I just stay in trance? And I can literally sit cross-legged on the floor for almost 2 hours and not even realize I'm sitting cross-legged, because once I'm out, my body just is like on hold. They push the pause button and I'm on hold. So I have no recollection of pain.
You don't even like afterwards like feel stiff from being in the same
No,
position?
no. I mean, it may take
Wow.
me a second to get up off the floor, but I don't feel stiff or sore or anything. It's just literally like they've pushed the pause button on my physical body, and it's just an amazing thing. I mean, I know this is sidetracked from what we were just talking about, but
No.
we've had a number of sessions, and you can say they're coincidental or whatever, but where I'm channeling someone's higher self, and this profound statement is coming through either from their higher self or from source or whatever. And mind you, there's no big storms in the area. Let's cloud cover, but there'll be this huge clap of thunder right next to the house. If you listen to the recording, I don't miss a beat. I'm not startled by it. I don't stop. I don't come out. It's just kicking right along. And
it's just a vessel.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really astonishes me because I listen to the recording. I'm like, holy, how do you not come out of this? So,
I was going to ask you about that because, I was going to ask you, you say you don't remember anything. Is it weird? And you don't really listen to your sessions, but do you ever listen? Is it weird
I listen
to hear yourself?
Yeah, I do listen to portions that Allison wants me to listen to, but I've not taken one full personal session that we've done together and listened to the whole thing. I don't necessarily like to listen to my own voice, especially in that state. I've tried to listen, and I end up feeling like I'm entering back into that trance state. I feel all of the same energies over again. And it can be like I used to, I'll say early on, I did try to listen to some of the channels while I would drive 35, 40 minutes into work in Charleston, where I was working at an office. And I couldn't, because the vibrations were so strong that I couldn't draw. I couldn't function and listen and drive and do the whole mess. So at that point I was like, I'm not going to. And then people would ask me, well, why not? And it really comes down to that all this information that is coming through me, which means all of that energy imprinting, whether it is a higher self of an animal and the knowledge from the animal, or somebody's higher self, or even my higher self, or the Galactics, or whoever I'm channeling at the time, is all imprinting into my energy field. So I'm living a lot of, and I've sensed that change over time. I am living not those experiences, but those lessons, those higher self lessons, the lessons even from animals. So it is a very beautiful, beautiful aspect for sure.
So do you say that there's a residual imprint then,
Yes.
where you feel like you're almost like you're in 5D, where you are able to tap in and experience from other people's experiences?
And what I'll say by that is now, though I don't remember, like coming out of the session, I have no idea what the questions were asked. I have no idea what any of the responses were. Now, 2 days from now, 3 days from now, a week from now, if we get together on here and you and Allison are talking about some of the responses or talking in depth about the responses, I may get little flashbacks that start to weep in, because the veil between my human thought processes and what has been imprinted energetically is thin, and so those little things start to weep in. Other than that,
and it did go through your brain. It goes through your brain to get out your mouth, to use the words that you have in your brain
as a functional aspect. So it is imprinted in there. Or like, even like, we've got a 5-hour drive to where we go for our vacation spot, and if I'm just driving and I'm just kind of in that mindless spot, all of a sudden something will just out of the blue pop into my head. I'm like, hey, did that come through in a channeling? Where did that come from? And she's like, oh yeah, that was one of the clients that talked about this, and we'll get on this whole big, because it is purposeful at the time to get into a conversation stream about that, because it brings a bit more enlightenment to something. So that's the nice thing about it, is it's there. It's kind of locked away, but it's there.
You can access it, or it comes to you
Yeah.
if needed.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like on demand. Exactly.
On demand.
I feel like
yeah.
Amanda is
Sorry.
ready to,
Yeah.
probably tired, and your hubby's home now. And
yeah. Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
absolutely.
I didn't realize that you did surrogate sessions for humans as a team where you facilitate and you channel. What would be some of the reasons to book a session like that with you?
A lot of people who are either afraid that they can't go under traditionally, or have already tried and can't, or if they're time sensitive. Because my BQH sessions take at least 3 hours, and I can only do those on the weekends. So for us personally, it's easier for us to squeeze in a 1 hour channeling. And in that 1 hour channeling, without going through the machinations of the induction and past lives and pulling out the information that way, which is a lot more time consuming, you can, in an hour, get a dense amount of information and all of the same types of questions answered in that private channeling. And so sometimes it's more economical, time-wise, financially.
Or even you can do international, and then you don't have the.
And correct.
Right.
And we do them via Zoom from all over the world, but I don't do my BQH sessions via Zoom anymore.
Okay.
I personally just prefer to do those in person.
Okay.
So for a number of reasons, somebody might prefer to have a channeling of their higher self.
Do they need to be meditating or anything during the time, or just
No,
whatever?
they can listen. A lot of times those people, like you said, that are energetically sensitive, it's overwhelming and they close their eyes and they go into a meditative state, which is fine because you're getting the information on two levels. It's coming in through the ears and you're processing it through your mind, your left brain, but it's also coming into your soul and you're getting the energetic information as well.
Gotcha.
And they get a recording anyway, so they can listen to it again.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
This was seriously a pleasure, both of you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So much.
So fun. And it was nice too to just like get to know you a little bit, and y'all have such a down to earth sense of humor. I just appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. And I'm really excited about your next book. And I'm excited to share Fomo's session with everybody. I think everyone should do this with their pets.
It's very valuable. So because this is going out before Christmas, people can contact us, and if they want a gift certificate to pay for a session for someone for a gift, it's the perfect time to do it. It really is a blessing for people. It really is.
Such a good idea. Yeah, a session, and could even do like the signed book with it.
And put the gift certificate in the book, or
that'd be really
that's
cute.
perfect.
I think the thing that stuck out for me the most today was during Fomo's session, she was on my lap and she has these golden eyes, and she looked up at me and just straight in my eyeballs, and just it was like our hearts connected and I can still feel it. It's like, yeah, it was very cool. Thank you.
That is beautiful.
I appreciate you both very much.
You are so welcome, Amanda. Thank you for spreading the word.
Yes.
Not only about us, but everything that you're doing with your clients too.
For sure.
Yes. I want you guys to have a great holiday. Y'all work so much. Go have some fun. You're not working while you're out of town, are you?
Yeah. I think we're going to do a channeling for the book, but that's not work. That's not work. That's fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
But yeah, we did a private channeling yesterday, and Source said that our clients weren't going to ramp up again until through the end of the year because we were the clients and we were supposed to have fun together and relax. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do.
I've been getting that a lot too. Have more fun. Have more fun. You need more joy. We need more joy in this world.
For sure.
That's right.
All right, you guys have a great night.
Take care and stay